Hi, everybody. Hi. I'm going to skip the whole who is Forrester. If you don't know what Forrester is, Google it. We're a research firm. It's not really difficult to understand what we do. But I do want to talk to you a little bit about my history just for a second here, because it's important to note that I used to be just like you. I used to sit in the audience at conferences like this because I used to be head of strategy for Guitar Center before I did this. Anybody know Guitar Center? Woo, okay, got a woo. I used to be head of marketing for a company called Harry & David. Does anybody know Harry & David? Yeah, no woos for pears. Woo, pears, right? It's a fruit basket company. So anyway, but I've been a strategy person for most of my life. I've been at Forrester for about 8 years, and I'm not a tech analyst. I don't know what an API is. I don't care what an API is. Please don't come up to me afterwards and explain it to me. I care more about strategy. I care about puzzle pieces. I care about how the puzzle pieces fit together. I care about a watch. I care about how the cogs and the springs and the fulcrums and everything in there works together and how we make things happen, okay? And so that's very important because let me ask you the purpose of a puzzle piece. What is the purpose of a puzzle piece? Anybody? So you don't want to think like me. I overanalyze everything. Right, it's to fit. To be in the right place, right? To fit with the other puzzle pieces, right? And that's my goal today, is to help you really realize how much product information, which doesn't get its due, really, when you think about the world of CX, people are the customer, the customer, the customer. I'm going to show you how that connective tissue between product and the customer becomes so critical for success of your organization. But to do that, I need to challenge you a little bit. I need to challenge you just a little bit, okay? So here's the first thing I'm going to talk about, which is the idea of what we don't know. From the opening scene of the Oscar-winning film, The Big Short, it ain't what you don't know that gets you into trouble. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so. A little bit of irony here, because Mark Twain never actually said this. So what they didn't know for sure, right? I don't think they got in a lot of trouble for quoting him anyway, but still. The point is, I want you to think about that, right? It's what we don't know that gets us into trouble. And as an analyst, I'm often walking into situations, I really only deal with Fortune 500 companies in most cases, and I find that most times organizations are just asking the wrong questions. They're making assumptions that actually aren't true about their customers, about their products, about the importance of things and where they matter. But I'm going to show you how some of these puzzle pieces come together. This just ain't so reality for us. We really don't know what we're doing, I've found over 8 years. We really don't know what we're doing, but it's not our fault. That's a good thing. You know whose fault it is? That person. Stupid customers, right? But I want you to do me a favor here. Let's do a little interactive thing here, because this is a fun event. Describe this customer to me. Go ahead. Come on. Young.
Ready to buy.
Ready to buy. What? Stylish. Good. Online. Good. What? Millennial. Okay, good. Still using a credit card. Right? Come on, who doesn't save their credit card in their file? Right? Okay, so good, right? Right? Okay, good. Right? Maybe a little bit of affluent, right? Like maybe a professional. Looks like she might be a professional, right? Maybe, right? We can't even, like I said, she might not be a she these days, right? Who knows? We don't know, right? But the customer is dynamic. So to listen to this properly, to really understand the importance of this, and you're going to say, yeah, you're right. When I do this to you, I'm going to turn you all into consumers. That's my trick. Okay? Because I used to come to these with my little strategy hat on, working for Guitar Center, and I'd be like, oh, I gotta listen. Okay, I want you to forget who you work for just a second and just be a consumer. All right? Let's do this. How many of you, this may be a difficult question, how many of you in the past year have bought something? Hey, look at that. How many of you have bought something online? All right, how many of you bought something in a store? All right, you're all buying things, so at least you're all buying things. Okay, good. Except for you. I don't know why you didn't raise your hand. I want to know what your life's like. Okay, so we're all consumers, right? And so we know there are things that make us choose the brands that we choose, right? Okay. But let me show you an example of what I find when I say that companies really don't know what they're doing. Take a look at this. I was doing a project for a company, a big retailer here in the US, and when I interviewed the executive team, the overarching theme was, Our data shows that customers love us because of our unique products, our focus on quality, and our alignment with their values. That sound familiar to anybody? Very banal statements. And how do you get this information? You send out surveys that say, do you love us for our unique products, our focus on quality, and our alignment with your values, yes or no? And of course, you get yeses back, right? But when I asked their best customers, not any customer, their best customers in focus groups, why do you choose this brand? That was the general response. I love going into their stores. And even though they have a website, if I didn't live near their store, I would likely stop shopping with them. And in one case, someone said entirely. Entirely, right? What does this mean? It means that this misunderstanding, this what we don't know, gets us into trouble. Because our marketing, our efforts, our products, the way we show things, the experiences we deliver focused on the left-hand side of your screen means you're not hitting the mark on what happens on the right-hand side of your screen. It's this misunderstanding, these assumptions that we make about the customer that gets us into trouble. Now, I know all of you are thinking, okay, good, Forrester's on stage. Forrester's going to give us a silver bullet. There'll never be a silver bullet. And the reason there's never going to be a silver bullet for winning the customers is because of this. Now, this isn't a terribly interesting statistic, 61% of consumers saying I'm unlikely to return to a website that does not provide a satisfactory customer experience. It's not terribly important. Probably could have guessed the number. But there's a very dangerous word on this slide. Anybody want to guess what it is? Satisfactory. Now, can you tell me why? You got it. You're too late. You're too slow. Okay. Subjective, but good guess. Okay. You got it. It's subjective. That is absolutely correct. I'll give you a pen later or something. Okay. So it is subjective. To each of us, what is satisfactory is different. Let's just take retail for a second. I'm just going to go across the first row. You need product reviews to be able to buy from somebody. You want comparison charts. You want same-day delivery. You want buy online, pick up in store. You want easy access to discounts and promotions. You want to be able to talk to local store associate through your app. There are so many things that we want. You want accurate product information, clearly.
I do.
Yes, you do. We saw that Amazon experience earlier, right? Each of us has our thing that makes us say, not good enough. I'm going somewhere else. It has nothing to do with, branding and all this stuff. It's like making me feel good about the experience. We don't really classify or define that very well. And because of that, we talk about things like surprise and delight, but for some reason, that never really happens. Look, let me be super clear with all of you. Nobody goes home at night, looks at the person across the table and says, boy, so-and-so really surprised and delighted me today. Bank of America really surprised and delighted me. Geico surprised and delighted me. That doesn't happen. We expect things to work. We just expect things to be okay, right? But when we misalign, as I showed you earlier, what the customer cares about and what we're trying to do, this is the result. This is what customer experience feels like. It's like, it just didn't work for me, I don't know. So we have the right tools. That's a good thing. We're just not applying them in the right way. And a lot of times it's because the reality is we don't understand the customer well enough, okay? And the proof is in the pudding. Digital sameness is pervasive. It's pervasive. It's a massive problem. Take a look at these numbers. In 2021, 68% of consumers said, experiences are fine, they're okay. Only 23% said good. You can't really read that, I'm sorry. And 0% said excellent. We can't even round up to 1% of customers that say they're excellent. Are we surprised and delighting customers? No, we're not. We're not there. We have to stop thinking that we are. There is no shortage of conferences you will go to, or webinars you will listen to, or earnings calls, if you're like me, you'll listen to, where someone will say, well, we know the customer. And it's said a priori as if it's a given. And then they just move on, right? But what they forget is you can't create great experiences for customers you don't really understand. And part of the problem, part of the reason we're seeing this digital pervasiveness, if you will, of similar experiences is because of this problem, and I didn't come up with it. Jim Collins came up with it in his book, Good to Great. The opening line of the book, Good to Great, is good is the enemy of great. And with respect to Jim, if you just know what that line means, you don't have to read the other 275 pages, okay? What it means is that when we do things good, we tend not to try to make them great. What does that mean? What is good? It's just like everybody else, isn't it? When I'm doing things just like everybody else, I'm going to go work on something else that's broken. Tell me something. Do you think you create differentiation when you're doing things as good as anybody else? Nope. Your experience is just like everybody else's? Yep. So how are you winning customers? Let's stop talking about surprise and delight and differentiation and all that kind of stuff. We're not doing it today. So how do we break free from the pack? A lot of companies think, well, we need to be customer obsessed and customer centric. I'd agree with that, right? Selling strategy, 2014. But that's not the way we need to finish the sentence, okay? That's the selling strategy. We need to be customer obsessed. But let's take a look at this. This is most people's customer obsession idea. We want to make it convenient, simple, and easy for customers to buy our products. Again, another banal platitude that really doesn't mean anything. And we ask consumers, why did you buy online, like many of you did? The last time you were online, they said, well, it's convenient, simple, and easy. And we ask them, why did you buy in store, like many of you did? They said, well, it was convenient, simple, and easy. This is not directionally important. This gives you nothing. This is not a mission statement, right? This is something that sounds good in a speech, but it isn't actually good internally. It doesn't give you any direction. It doesn't really help you, okay? The other problem with this, and this is where I find often companies fail, and I want you to leave here, go back to your offices and just keep an ear open. Don't tell them I said this. Keep an ear open. But we want, the very beginning of this is a mistake. We want is a company-obsessed statement. We want to do this. We want to do that. But our customers want is a customer-obsessed statement. It sounds like I'm splitting hairs, doesn't it? But I'm not. It shows the difference in culture between the companies that I work with day in and day out. When they say we want, I immediately know they're making assumptions about the customers. Immediately. They're not looking at data. Why? Well, I've been in this business for 30 years, so that's why I know. You know what? I don't even believe I know anything about the customer, and I've been doing this for 25 years. Why? Because we've changed. Those waves that were talked about earlier, we've changed. Our expectations have changed. The things I knew 20 years ago in this business or 10 years ago, they're no longer relevant because the consumer's expectations have changed so much. And so we need to finish the sentence. The 2022, it's an engagement strategy. It's not about conversion. Did the person from Forrester just say it's not about conversion? It's not about conversion. It's about staying top of mind with the consumer between purchases so that they say, you're my brand. You're the brand I want to do business with. For many of you, the period between purchases can be as much as 6 months or a year. At Guitar Center, the average time between purchases was the average time to buy was 1.7 times a year. It's a huge gap to try to stay top of mind with the consumer. And the only way you're going to do it is to create those great experiences. So how do we do this? How do we get to this state? Well, I'm going to break it down into a very simple exercise for you. And this is something that I do, again, Fortune 500 companies, I'm sitting with the executive team, sometimes the board of directors, and I sit down in a room and I say, do this. And we do it together. And I take out Post-it notes because I'm so old school, and I say, what is X and what is Y? X is what we could know about the customer, and Y is what we could do about it if we knew something about them. And we go through this, and I have them do 5 or 6 of these things, and I end up with about 100 of them, and I put them on the wall, and I say, congratulations, you just started your first customer data strategy. So a lot of you are here thinking about products, product data, but it is a dovetail of these two things that come together that make the experiences, isn't it? Isn't it? Is it just having product on your website a differentiator? I'm sorry, do your competitors not have products on their website? No, right? It is the strategy of merging the right product with the right customer. But to do that, you have to have deep, rich product information, and you have to have deep, rich understanding of your customer. How many of you are self-described math geeks? Me, I'm the only one? Okay, right here, good, right? I love math, right? And if you think about it, this is about, like at the beginning of this thing, the title of this session, I put a plus sign in there because it's the coming together, it's the puzzle piece of these two things to be able to create those great experiences. So how do we get to a better understanding of the customer? Okay, first, you have to understand you need structure. You can't just walk in Monday morning and go, let's think about this. You need to actually put together a plan, a roadmap for understanding the customer, and this is what it looks like. So I'm going to walk you through real quick what this is, how the model works, and how you can apply it to your business. And by the way, I will just share this deck with you. It's totally fine by me. Just reach out to me on LinkedIn and say, I want the deck from the conference. You can have it, okay? So, but you should tweet that. Okay, you don't talk to me. Grab me on LinkedIn, I'll get it to you. Anyway, so the idea is, how do we do this? So I'm going to go through these data elements. I'm going to go through the sexy part first, okay? But remember, success is in the details. Success is in the details, okay? And that's how we get to that deeper level of the customer understanding. That's what really matters today, okay? Let's go through what details means in this context. So many of you probably already do the first one, characteristics. And by the way, these are easiest to hardest. Characteristics, age, gender, height, weight. career, income, zip code, ethnicity, marital status, family status, affiliations, buying history. Okay? This is the first one. This is it. Just one, 6. How many of you would say we have some of this? Probably a lot of you, right? A lot of you have this information. Guess what? So does everybody else. You know why? Because you can buy this information. This is not hard to get. This is easy. This is the easiest thing of all. There are lists out there. You can go, if I just have your email address, I can append it to all this information. This does not give you a competitive advantage. Again, no differentiation level. It's a good to great problem right here, okay? The next level down is the second hardest to do, or the second easiest, probably the way to put that, is the considerations. A lot of people call this, what is my intent? Now, this is where you guys come in to start really coming into play here. What is my intent to buy, right? Now, I have a wonderful little Samsung phone that I bought recently over there. And when I was going to buy this Samsung phone, I went to T-Mobile, AT&T, and Verizon, because they're the 3 carriers here in the US, and I said, I'm interested in this phone. So how fast did each of them learn I'm interested in the phone? Within a few clicks. How much of a competitive advantage did that create for any of them? None. They all knew what I wanted. So when they retargeted me and remarketed to me for the phone, they all had the same, again, good to great. They're doing it good, but that's it. But more importantly, on the intent side, I want you to understand something that most people don't realize. You have 2 types of customers, or 2 types of rates that come in on your website, as an example. Happens in other channels too, but the website's easiest to understand. And that is the consideration rate. Most companies today focus on the conversion rate, okay? When I was at Guitar Center, I got asked once, who's our best customer? And I thought about the question, and I said, I know what you think I'm going to say. You think I'm going to say the person that spends $40,000 a year with us, because there is a person that spends $40,000 a year with us, right? But it's not. Our best customers, if we want to grow, is the person that's spending $40,000 with somebody else. See, the thing of it is, when you're focusing on customers that already buy from you, you've already checked the box. You've already won them. You don't have to worry so much about them. We spend days and days and days analyzing, what did these customers buy? What did they do? What was their experience? It's one of the unique places in the world where we focus on the minority of people and not the majority of people. Growth doesn't come from your 10%. You can squeeze a little bit of juice out of those people. But there are plenty of people that came to your website that day and said, can you meet my conditions? Can you win my business? These are the people that are going to create growth for you. Same thing happens in politics. People that vote for Democrats, nobody calls Democrats. People vote for Republicans, nobody calls Republicans. You know what they call? The undecided. That's how political campaigns are won. It's the undecided. And there are people just on the fringe of being willing to buy from you if you could just do that one thing that they need you to do. Now, the next layer down from that is where it gets really, really powerful, but also complicated. And that is curiosities. What do I care about? Remember intent? I want a leather jacket. A lot of you stop right there. The next layer down are curiosities, though. You may say, okay, he wants a leather jacket. Good, let's send him promotions, discounts, offers, all these kinds of things to get him to buy a leather jacket. But there's so much to buying almost anything out there, right? Let's take a leather jacket example. Think of the curiosities that I may have. Is it brown? Is it black? Is it red? Is it green? Does it have a liner? Does it not have a liner? Is it long? Is it short? Is it real? Is it fake? I live with 3 vegans. I bring home a real jacket. I'm sleeping on the couch for like a week, okay? So all these things matter. Like, does it have zippers? Does it have buttons? Does it have that Bon Jovi frilly stuff hanging off of it? Like, what is it that I really care about? Because just showing me leather jackets, that would be the equivalent of you walking into a store, going up to an associate and go, I'm interested in a leather jacket, and they go, it's over there. Fire that person if they work at your organization, just so you know, okay? What do they do if they're a good associate? Well, what do you care about? We need to emulate the physical experience of the best associate digitally, and the way we get to that is to understand customers better and their curiosities about things. We can't just point in a direction. We need to understand them at this deeper level if we're truly going to create a better experience for them. And how good can you align customers and what they care about if your product information is poor? You can't. See how I said earlier, I'm going to show you the importance of your puzzle piece? This is why it is so critically important to get product information right, and why you need to activate things, and why you need to bring them into the equation of your strategy, because they matter so much in executing so many things you want to do in understanding the customer. Next layer down. Next layer down are the conditions. Now, this is the biggest area by far. I'm not going to get into the nuances of this too much, but I'm going to talk about what this is. And that is that, what is it that I need in this experience to convert? And for each customer, it's going to be different, not only for each customer, but for each product for that specific customer. Meaning, as I showed you earlier, went across the front, right? Each of them was an experience. Notice I didn't talk about products. I went with each person's, what they wanted in the experience to be able to convert with that company, right? But the other part of it is, it's not always the same. Do you need the same experiences when buying a Samsung smart refrigerator with a screen on it as you do when you buy Advil? No, right? Different requirements. You have different needs. You have different wants, right? I happen to be good with pro video. I don't need to have a video chat. I know nothing about pro photography. I would love to have a video chat. It's about creating the experience that works for the customer. It's not about forcing them down a channel. It's about giving the option of doing certain things. And when you do that, product, of course, comes into play in the conditions as well, right? Because don't compare, I think you were comparison charts, when I was going through the front, you were comparison charts. Don't compare me items that I have no interest in, the curiosities that I had. Show me comparison charts in real time, not static images, dynamic images that use the information you know about what I care about and the product information that I have to make a relevant comparison chart for me. And then you've met my condition. The next one is context. Now we're at number 5. This is getting hard. If you can do context, it means you can do real-time understanding of the customer. That's what this requires. It really does require the ability for me to know, where am I at the moment? Am I in a store? If I'm in a store and I open your app, should you show me products that are not available in that store? Probably not. And I'm just going to get frustrated because I just wasted a trip, right? Show me items that are involved in the store, or at least give me a function where I can do that myself and manually pick for that, because I want to walk out the door with something today, right? Context can matter. What have I returned before? Don't recommend things that go with the product I returned. You know, there's a company called True & Company, which I'm a really big fan of. And what they do is they ask you why you're returning. They sell women's undergarments. And they say, why are you returning this item? And if you say, well, the fabric didn't feel good, the wire dug into me, whatever the things, they have a bunch of lists of things, right? And then they suppress items on the website that have similar characteristics to the one that you're returning so that you don't have a bad experience again. Genius and absolutely customer obsessed. Why? Because they do it even if it's a bestseller. They do it even if that item is the highest margin item. They know as a pure play, you come back and buy 2 things from them that you want to return, you're never coming back again, right? It's strategy. It's learning about the customer and learning about the product and the relationship of those things that helps you get to a good experience. And the last one is conceptions. A little bit of irony here because it is the last one, and as I said, surprise and delight moments really don't happen, but conceptions are how we feel about things. Look, there is no way, I don't care who you are, I will buy you coffee if you can tell me, pick one customer that bought from you today and tell me if they were surprised and delighted. Tell me if they were happy or dissatisfied with the experience. You cannot. So as much as people get up on stage and go, we're surprising, delighting customers, you have no idea if you're doing that. None. And if you say, well, they bought from us, come on. We know there's plenty of times you go to a website, you buy something, you're like, well, I'm here, I'll buy it now, but I'm never buying from this company again, right? Happens all the time. It's not a good proxy for how I feel about a moment. Now, why do I have this up here if it's so hard to do? Because we're just on the fringe of being able to do this. Through computer vision, natural language processing, we're going to get to this state, so you should keep an eye on this. But there's I already gave you so much more to do before this. Don't worry about this yet. Okay? Honestly, keep an eye on it, know that it's coming, be aware of it, and think about it as your strategy, but not immediately. Now we're going to get a little unsexy, okay? Here are 4 questions you should ask yourself as part of the model, whether or not you should be working on capturing data. 1, is the data reliable enough to trust that it represents each customer clearly and accurately? Number 2, can the data be used to directionally predict customer behaviors with a high degree of certainty? 3, is the data actionable enough to improve our marketing and engagement strategy? And is the data relevant for supporting our company's priorities, goals, and objectives as a brand right now? Your data teams are too busy. Don't have them chasing information that, frankly, they don't need to get right now. Okay? If you're not going to work on something, don't go learning about the metaverse if you're not going to work in the metaverse for the next 5 years. Okay? It's not important. Work on what matters now. And that's how you keep business outcomes flowing as you work on learning. Okay? What can you do with all this though? Well, you can do things like individualization, better personalization, a better understanding of the customer through that real-time understanding. It doesn't mean segmentation is going away, but the companies that I'm working on are working on profiles, not personas, not segments. They're working on getting to the profile of the customer and understanding the nuance of that customer who always buys kitschy things or always pays in a certain price range or whatever, right? Like that understanding and that data in your customer database. They're also working on omnichannel. Many of you are probably working on an omnichannel strategy. And this slide isn't built left to right with this underneath it because I ran out of room. It's built this way because everything sits on top of understanding the customer. You got to know it's Brendan here, 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 and here, and here if you're going to create an omnichannel experience. So the dovetail that brings these two things together is that understanding of the customer and the understanding of products. The ability to put those things together is how effective those programs are going to be. You start to see how the puzzle comes together. You start to see how the watch has to work together in order for all these things to work and the importance of your particular piece. So the changing reality is that you have to take advantage of existing assets and rethink your engagement strategy. Think of your tools that you have out there, right? Like how many of you have a payments app from like Starbucks or Dunkin' or somebody, right? Many of you do, right? You think you have a payments app. You don't. You have a customer data capturing machine in your hand. That's the way they think about it. And that's the way you need to think about it too. If you have digital touch points that just deliver an experience, go back because you have built half of a solution. The other half of the solution is what can we learn about the customer at this moment? What do they care about? What do they need? What do they want? Those insights and analytics that you talked about earlier, so critically important, both in the product arena and in the customer arena. The good news is you probably already have the ecosystem in place. The ability to get to this understanding of the customer on the right-hand side, which is very complicated, is built by your ecosystem of engagement. Places that you're already talking to the customer. You just need to build them out. And then when you do that, you can unify experiences, right? Like if I go to if I went to a Sephora beauty station, which I've done, I'm an Autumn, you might not be able to tell, but I'm an Autumn. Like I went and did this experience because I'm dedicated to my job, and the ladies had a good time with me right there. But afterwards they said, would you like this information? And I said, yes. They said, give us your email address. That's all they asked. And suddenly I became a beauty insider. Look at that, there I am, right? And now they can pre-populate my virtual try-ons with the things that I like. You start to see how this all works together, that it's a strategy of engagement, it's a strategy of understanding that gets you to this state. And you're also prioritizing the tools you buy. In the MarTech world, when we ask, what are you prioritizing when you buy a vendor? Look at what rose to the top. Ease of integration with other data sources and systems. It beat out total cost of ownership. It beat out features and functionality. It even beat out the ability to service my business needs. That should probably be on the top, by the way. But this is the number one thing, okay? Will it get any easier? No. It's not getting easier. Good call. All right. See, if we're not LinkedIn connected, we have to be LinkedIn. I liked your answer. No, it's not going to get easier. It's going to get harder. But you have to find your own way of doing it. You have to find your own way. Should you build a smart speaker? No, heck no. Don't build a smart speaker. Find your own thing. Find the thing that works for you. Find the way your customer's already engaging with you, and be creative, like I showed you with B&H earlier. Find the thing that works for your customer journey and do that. And if you're a brand, this is true as well. But it applies to all of your companies. Now, my wife hates that I know what that app is in the middle. Does anybody know what that app is in the middle? Yeah, it's Tinder. It's Tinder, okay. So, yeah, you can see why my wife hates that I know that. Okay, Tinder, right? We've digitized everything in our lives. Doctor's visits, religious services, yoga classes, dating, everything, right? But as we've created digital ubiquity, as we've digitized things in our life, that becomes an opportunity to show me products. Is the right place to show me scope on a billboard at a Red Sox game or 30 minutes before a Tinder date? Come on, that's an easy answer. 30 minutes before a Tinder date, right? In the app itself. Don't forget, get some scope. Okay, you want to be, okay, how about flowers? Let's just say flowers. Get some flowers before your Tinder date. And by the way, that stuff is right around the corner at your local 7-Eleven. I didn't make up this scenario. This is what people are working on. Let go of the concept that this is why product is so important, because we're going to let go of the concept that I need to own the channel. This is that complexity we've talked about, right? PX. The experience of the product everywhere is getting more complex. So here's my 5 suggestions for you, but before I give them to you, I want you to remember this. I know that you're one person from your organization, maybe 2 or 3, but please bring this information back to your organization and share it with them, right? Please, because it's not about just tech. It's about your culture and your organizational silos and not having the right metrics of measurement for success. I was only given, and I'm over time, 25 minutes to be here on stage, right? But there's so much more we can go into. This is more complicated than that. But let's get started in the right direction. Let's get started with a new way of thinking, okay? Here's the things to do going forward, okay? Number one, identify and break your company's assumptions about the customer. Challenge your thinking about what each customer values and why they would actually buy from you. I was pretty thorough with that one. Don't get too far ahead of the customer, but also don't get too far behind the customer. Now, that's an easy one, the latter one. Don't get too far ahead. What do you mean, Brendan? Look, no one's going to walk into a store this year and go, oh, there's no virtual reality. I'm out of here. No one's going to say that. No one's going to be standing at the door going, oh, that package better come by drone or I'm absolutely not ordering from this company again. No one's going to say that. You're okay not working on that right now, right? But when a person comes to your website and they say, I expect product information to be exact and correct, yeah, every one of you. Remember you had your consumer hats on this whole time, I hope, right? Is that a requirement for all of you? Of course it is. And this is why it becomes so important. If you haven't got that right, forget about the other shiny objects, okay? And if you need me to come into your organization and say that, I will. All right. Fish where the fish are. If most of your customers are shopping in a certain channel, improve that area. I see too many people like they're going, we're going to improve our app experience. I go, how many people use your app? 2% of our customers. I'm like, why are you doing that, right? 80% of the people use your website, or maybe even 90%. Fish where the fish are means if you're going to make a change, or you're going to make an impact, focus on the areas first that impact the most customers. And finally, as I said before, oh, no, this is the next one. Don't check the box too soon, right? Make sure you have the metrics in place to measure success. If you're going to take an action, make sure it's working, right? And then the final one is, don't try to surprise and delight customers. I said it before, I'll say it again. Fix pain points. We are far more influenced by painful moments than by great experiences. How many of you drive cars? Okay, lots of you. Did you ever get out of your car, turn around and go, thank you, car. Thank you for getting me where I need to go. I love you, car. Nobody does that. Maybe some Tesla owners, but nobody else. Nobody else does that, right? Right? But if your car broke down in the place you need to go, would you remember that moment? Would you have some choice words for that car? Yes, you would. You would be talking to your car. You would not be hugging it, right? We remember these moments. That's not me. That's every study ever done about us. And you know what a pain point is? When I go to a website and you don't have good product information. When I go into a store and you don't have the product I need and I can't order it because I just spent an hour getting to your store and finding a parking spot to find something, right? Fix customers' pain points. The irrelevancy of emails, that's a pain point. You are creating so many pain points. That's where the work needs to be done. And that's how we get to a happy customer and the ability to serve them in the right way. Thank you for your time.